And we are live on the internet, live worldwide. Welcome, oh wow, welcome to Formula Drift Japan, round one here at Suzuka Twin Circuit. Good morning. Wow, it sounds like I've just spent all night partying. I swear, all I did, I had one beer and I went home. But yeah, a little bit of a funny voice today, unfortunately. Hopefully, look, I went around and told all the drivers, Ryan, don't do anything too exciting so I don't have to raise my voice.
See, they did too much exciting things yesterday, too many exciting things yesterday, and that's why you
lost
your voice. That's a good sign.
That's my excuse, yeah. It's that good here, ladies and gentlemen, at Suzuka Twin for round one.
Anybody that tuned in yesterday for the first half knows that we're telling a nice fib there because we had about 9 zeros.
That's right. We had it was very unexciting in the first half of qualifying. We had about 9 or 10 zeros in a row due to the conditions. This circuit doesn't look like it's that difficult, but it is not all that easy, actually. We just, in practice, we've already had one guy write himself off this morning, Hayato Miyoshi, in the RB26 powered ER34, E being the four-door version of the Skyline GTT. He's been towed off, and it's in very sorry conditions, so he won't be making it out today. It's a bit unfortunate. But unlike yesterday, which started off with horrible weather and rain and thunderstorms, and which it resulted in fried electrical equipment and stoppages of the live stream, hopefully nothing like that today. Lovely blue skies. The weather is predicted to be good all day today, so dry, high-speed action here. You can see that angle down the front straight here at Suzuka Twin Circuit. Now, this is not the Suzuka F1 circuit. This is actually called Suzuka Twin. It's a bit of a different circuit. So what we're going to do now is look at your yesterday's top 10 in qualifying. Here we go. So this is yesterday's top 10 qualifiers for round one of Formula Drift Japan here at Suzuka Twin.
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty interesting turn of events as we started to see the really wet weather go dry about halfway through. Mad Mike, a great story from him, even though he's not in the vehicle that he typically is, has that borrowed car there, and he's slotted in at our number 10 position.
Yeah, next driver Koichi Yamashita, it's like getting used to the JZX100. Next driver, car number 20, Kazuto Ichiyanagi, a good performer last year, very consistent, performing quite well yesterday in his Zeek S13 Silvia.
Yeah, we saw another driver, Shinji Minoa, lay down a pretty solid run on his first run, came back with a strong second as well, and his wife did not make it into competition. We were hoping for that, but unfortunately she did not, so she'll be cheering him on from the sideline. This
driver here, Daichi Oshiro, one of the hardest charging drivers in the Formula Drift Japan competition. Every single lap backing it in. Same with Seimi Tanaka, you can see there. His very strong runs getting him into second place. And in first yesterday in qualifying was this guy here, Kazumi Takahashi.
No.
Oh, sorry, no?
Well,
sorry, that was his second run.
I could sense this coming. He went from 10 to 8th, and he missed. He got out of order. So
I was running that because I was like, that's the order is wrong.
This is going to be 3.
There we go.
And Yokoi should be 2.
Yep. Anyway, so back to what we were talking about. Andrew Gray, last year's and the year before that, champion, coming in second. And in first qualifying position for today's battles is Masashi Yokoi. Very, very
He's
strong.
number 2.
Number two.
What am I? Number 1 is Taguchi.
This is getting, yeah, okay.
See, we're hoping that's the extent of his thing today.
Okay. There we go. It says winner at the top there. I was like, what? That wasn't Yokoi, was it? Look at Taguchi's run here. Of course, last year Taguchi always in the top end of the field, but never right up the top at the end of the day. But I think this is going to be his year. Taguchi in his S15 Silvia SR20 powered. Not everything is a straight 6 or a V8 these days, especially here in Japan. Very good performer. This car been tuned in the off season. He's entering many competitions. There's a lot of experience recently. Hard charging guy. His day job is actually working at Up Garage too. So just surrounded by cars all day. He was your first place qualifier.
Yeah, so a great set of qualifying yesterday. Now we're into the top 32, and then we'll have a halftime break and move into the top 16. But the weather is tremendous. The track is extremely dry now. We've got a nice little wind coming out of the woods here to kind of clear the smoke for us, and an exciting way to kick off the first round of Formula Drift Japan. One of 5 this year, including a special event at Fuji Speedway. And so really excited to get the ball kicked off here. It's been back-to-back drifting events for us at FD, and happy to be out here in Japan once again.
Yeah, I would say you have more weekends at drift events than you don't this year, don't you, Ryan?
Definitely the first half of the season is pretty front-loaded. Yeah, we leave here and have a week until Orlando, then 2 weeks until Atlanta, and then we'll be looking at planning the second round of this series as well. So the Japan guys have really created a nice healthy brand for themselves and continuing on into their 4th year now, and really seeing a lot of these younger drivers really excel, as well as some of the veterans. It's always fun to see Yokoi and some of these guys that were trying the backwards entry yesterday in qualifying and nearly making it. And one of the things I really enjoy about this track in particular is it really does bring the cars together, because you have that little bit of a shorter run up. The drivers are full throttle from the start line, and trying to get the timing right for that first and second outer zone is really exciting to watch, especially those that are very, very comfortable in their car. We have seen a few wrecks here this weekend, so that certainly does happen when the timing is amiss a little bit. But thankfully we've got a pretty full field here today, and excited to get this competition underway. Yeah,
definitely looking forward to it, especially in qualifying. The timing was very important, but now you have 2 cars going side by side. The timing is even more important. They have very little time to get their cars settled, to get them into the second outer zone, which is the highest scoring part of the track, right here in front of the judging stand. So you can see their start line. Of course, the standard Formula Drift start, lead car going through a chicane, following car going straight, and then down this little straight here. Now this particular layout, it is being run backwards at this event compared to how this track normally runs, but it's still a good layout to use. You can see there, down the front straight, up through the gears, second, third, depends on the driver, depends on the car's setup. The majority of them are getting it into 3rd gear. And then you can see here this that white cross-hatched area right there in front of the judging stand. That's literally below where we're sitting right now. That's the end of your outer zone. You can see there the pylon. The judges want to see the cars all the way out to the edge of the wall. And then just there in the middle of the screen there, the inner clip. Just there to the right in the middle of the screen there's your inner clip, and it's like an S bend here. In the second half of the course, it might not look that much of it has that much of a bank on it, but it is quite heavily banked. It's very on camber, which is the way racing drivers say it's got a bit of a bank on it. So if the cars are able to keep their speed up through the outer zone in front of the judging stand and into the first inner clip, if they can keep their exit speed from there up, they're in a very good position to maintain or even gain speed all the way to the end of the course over the finish line. Because we did see yesterday in the changing wet and dry conditions, a lot of drivers were getting caught out because the first half of the course was wet, but the second half, because it is quite banked, dried up fairly quickly. The water ran off it and dried up, which caused a lot of people to understeer.
So seeing our first car come out on course here, Masuda will be taking on Hayashi, your number 16th and 17th ranked driver from yesterday's qualifying. The infamous Shark.
Yes, the Shark. Masuda heading out the track. Of course, Taguchi, the first place qualifier, getting a bye into his first battle. So the scratches that we've had so far, of course, we had Miyoshi this morning in the ER34 crashing out. We haven't got 100% confirmation that he's going to be knocked out, but having a look at the condition of the car that I just saw, the front driver's side, or the front right side of the car, was fairly heavily damaged, and it was almost 3-wheeling. It was listing over fairly dramatically, so a lot of suspension damage there. Of course, as you mentioned before, Masayo Minowa, the wife of Shinji Minowa, she entered this competition yesterday. First female driver in Formula Drift Japan. Unfortunately, 0-0 for her. Just wasn't feeling that confident at this brand new track. and in a brand new competition. It's their first time in Formula Drift as well. And another unfortunate scratching was Chris de Jager from Australia. Chris de Jager, the creator of the, well, a little bit while back, sort of slightly famous de Jager judging system, which he developed after living in Japan for a while. He lived up at Ebisu Circuit for about a year, drifted there for a long time, comes over to Ebisu a lot. He's a very experienced drifter also in Australia. Preparing a JZX90, but unfortunately doing 2 prop shafts in 2 days. Just, I said he's gonna open a pretzel factory when he goes back home to Australia. So he's getting very good at twisting them up. Really, really unfortunate for Chris de Jager. So those drivers won't be making it out, unfortunately. So once again, thanks for joining us here online. So I apologize, my voice. I swear I had 1 beer and I went home early. I got 8 hours of sleep. But yeah, a little bit too much excitement yesterday. Had a bit of a cold early this week, and unfortunately it came back. I hope that I heard that the estate of Barry White is planning to sue me with this voice. I'll do my best to keep you informed all day. So we've got our first driver out, Masuda. He'll be going up against Hayashi in the first battle. So the plan for today is basically as follows. We are having the top 32 battles from now until midday. And then later on today we have the top 16 through to the final battle at 1 o'clock Japan time. So a little bit, just a very short 1 hour break in the middle of the day between the top 32 and the 16-8 semi-final final brackets. So a full day of action here at Suzuka Twin Circuit. Hope you can either join us for all of it or some of it. Hey Ryan, what did the pony say to the doctor?
I don't know. What did the pony say to the doctor?
I'm feeling a little hoarse.
Ah,
yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Hey, so there we have Hayashi there coming up to the start line. Now Hayashi's car. Very standard, well, I don't want to say standard, orthodox kind of build as far as Japan is concerned. S15, SR20, and Trust TD06 Turbo. So the engine there, in that the SR20, actually a Tomei built engine. The up garage that Hayashi works at is actually about, literally a stone's throw from Tomei's headquarters as well, so I'm sure that had something to do with it. Down in Machida in Tokyo. The next driver out. So you just had there Taguchi's bye run. Of course, the cars do need to complete one bye run. What's the reason for that, Ryan? Is that just to prove that their car is functional and can complete the run? So
yeah,
there's no sort of question there about.
Pretty much. I mean, the most relevant application is when we're actually in competition, and there's been a battle between two competitors, and a buy run generates from that, then we would really want to see that the car is capable of drifting on its own and that it's not just broken like the other car. But in the case of this situation, it's more of just pomp and circumstance.
Right.
Letting everybody know where we're at in the bracket, things like that.
Makes sense. It's always good to see a nice solo run there. Okay, here we go. So our first battle of the top 32. Here at Formula Drift Round 1. So the first real battle of 2017. We have Hayashi in the left in the Toyota 86. Masuda on the right with the Shark J690. Here they come. This time Hayashi leading, Masuda following. Hayashi very deep into the outer zone. Masuda right behind him. Watch the switch here as they go around the second inner clip over the finish line. It's a great first run of the day between these two. Hayashi in the Toyota 86, a borrowed car for him. You may remember him driving an S15 in last year's competition. Up against Masuda in the car he's always in, the JZX90.
And some big points for both competitors, both in the lead and the chase position. Let's take a look at it again here with Hayashi in the lead and Masuda chasing him down. Masuda made a nice move on the inside in the chase position. There was a big slowdown by Hayashi, which is part of that transition from outer zone 1 to outer zone 2, but he was really able to do what he needed to do as the chase driver, stay within proximity, but not fall into a potential trap of making contact. So I definitely give both drivers props there.
Here we go with the replay between these two this time. So this is Hayashi leading, Masuda following behind. So let's watch this replay one more time. Watch the entry from both these guys.
You can see it right there. That's where that slowdown is. He makes a good adjustment there. Then he's able to keep the pressure on. Hayashi, pretty good job here out in the lead position. You can see just a bit off that last inside clip there. We have those 3 hash markers are visual aids for the judges to be able to take a look at it. This is from the camera view where we are right here. You can see right there, just entering that second outer zone by Hayashi. And then just going a little bit long on that first inside clip. So some high points for both drivers here. Masuda keeping him in a pretty good distance. Hayashi, nice lead.
Overall, I think Hayashi had a very good lead there.
Yeah.
Now this particular car, you may have seen it before. It's if you know the driver Yoshinori Koguchi, for the old school drift fans there, it's a car that he used to drive. This time Hayashi's out there driving it as a loner. As soon as the track clears, we're going to send these two guys again. Masuda on the left will be leading. Hayashi on the right will be following. As the lead car has to go through the little chicane there. See there? Masuda having trouble with chicanes in previous competitions sometimes. Okay, once again, Masuda staying a long way off the wall. Hayashi getting out there, but falling a long way back as a result. Hayashi putting a lot of emphasis on getting into that outer zone, the second outer zone in front of the judging stand. But as a result, Masuda starting to pull away from him for the rest of the track. Let's watch this replay.
Yeah, I think Masuda gets the better of the two on this particular run, but the judges are going to be looking at both leads comparatively, both chases comparatively, and then the overall. You can see Masuda does not get deep into that second outer zone, and it looks like Hayashi was anticipating that he was. Masuda makes a little bit of a straightening there on that second inside clip, and then here's the distance that you're talking about, Alexi. So judges having to factor both runs together. Here's from another position here. You can see Masuda does not reach out to that second outer zone. Hayashi does, and that's where he kind of loses a little bit of ground there. So not able to anticipate that exactly right from outer zone 1, outer zone 2, and then right there just off the course a bit, hitting the finish line cone.
I think that last little off-course bit there with Hayashi was him getting a little bit too hard on the accelerator, trying to catch up with Masuda towards the end of the track, but you could really see that from that opposite angle, Masuda's lead run, quite wobbly, nowhere near as smooth as Hayashi's run on both of them. So here we go. So we have a result for these two. So one more time. one judge to Hayashi, and one to Masuda. We have an absolutely split decision there between these two. So first run of the day, down the middle, left and right. So a completely even split there between the two judges.
Yeah, I think
three judges, sorry.
Hayashi really had the opportunity to win that battle, I think, because he had a really solid lead run.
Yeah.
It just wasn't able to keep ground. And Masuda didn't make enough mistakes in order to force the win, I guess, in his side. Well, at least for one judge he did, but we very rarely see it go that way, where you have a one more time and split on both sides. That's a pretty rare occurrence, which means I think that would probably be more even equally deservingly as a unanimous.
Yeah, so we'll get to see these two guys again. We'll see if they change their strat for the next battles. These two guys, before that happens, we're going to have our next battle. Ichiyanagi versus Masuyama. Now Ichiyanagi on the left there in the 1-via. Masuyama on the right. Masuyama, young guy, 24 years old. Building a brand new car for this Formula Drift spec, which means a 2JZ with a dog box in it. Yeah, watch this entry. Both drivers, good line for these guys. Masuyama falling a little bit back, but manages to catch up. Both of them right on the limiter. You go around second in a clip and over the finish line. Fairly consistent distance between these two for the entire run. Good lead run from Ichiyanagi. Masuyama making a few little mistakes here and there, but overall keeping up very well with the lead car.
Let's take a look at here. Ichiyanagi in the lead position. Kind of a slow to angle on initiation. Gets out to that first outer zone, not quite as deep in the second outer zone. And you can see here Masuyama trying to chase him down. He goes a little bit of a wider line, not able to get super close to Ichiyanagi. We'll take a look at it again from the start line here.
Yeah, what's the lead car, Ichiyanagi? What's the angle? You see, it's quite slow to get to full angle, but then again, Masuyama did the same thing. Now, but from here on, Masuyama keeps a good, consistent distance to the lead car, matches his driving very well. So,
yeah, particularly what the judges would like to see in an ideal scenario is what we saw from our top 3 qualifiers yesterday. Is basically a full throttle approach, leaving the chicane, using the angle in the car, getting quick rate to angle to the outer zone, to outer zone 1, using the angle to slow the vehicle down to enter outer zone 2, trying to minimize, e-braking or corrections. And if you can do that and lock into those 2 outer zones, you put yourself in a really good position, because you really just have those 2 inside clips, which is basically just going lock to lock after that.
That's right. So we go second run now. Masuyama leading. Ichiyanagi following, good angle there. Masuyama, that's what we want to see. That's the sort of thing we really want to see, but what's the rest of this run? They have to complete the rest of this run now. Masuyama pulling away slightly from Ichiyanagi with slightly more angle at the same time. So a really good lead run. If you want to compare lead runs there, Masuyama, I think, doing a bit of a better job than Ichiyanagi did here in the teal S15 Silvia.
Well, you can see getting out of the chicane pretty well there is Masuyama. Great angle there. You can see very minimal e-brake usage. He does not reach all the way out to outer zone 2, and he goes a little bit long on that first inside clip. Now Ichiyanagi's trying to close the door here, but he's not really able to get any closer than maybe 2.5 car lengths. So judges have their work cut out for them once again, as both drivers kind of go back and forth here.
It should be interesting to see what we get as a result for these two. Masuyama, really good angle on his entry. I've seen Masuyama drive. This is his first time in Formula Drift Japan, entering this year. Coming off wins in a few other local series. Young guy, as I mentioned yesterday, just graduating from university recently. Building a new car. So we see Masuyama on the left. So we have one. The left car is the teal colored S15. The one on the right, Ichiyanagi, is the yellow 1-via. And as we can see, their result there. Wataru Masuyama heading on through to the top 16. So good result there for him in his first battle in Formula Drift. All right, moving on, keeping the action as quick as we can here today at Formula Drift. Suzuka Circuit. Next 2 drivers, Yamashita versus Jay. No, we got the sub was wrong there. That is indeed Hubert Lee. Hubert, also a new entry to Formula Drift Japan.
You guys were talking quite a bit at dinner last night.
We did. I probably shouldn't have talked that much, but yeah, he had a lot to say. He was very interesting. Hubert, very keen to expose himself to the world of Japanese drifting and learn from that. But it's talk about being thrown in the deep end. Yamashita in the lead car, dominating this run against Hubert Lee. Of course, Hubert's car not too far off in spec to Yamashita's car, but I think that was a fairly one-sided run there. You know, I was saying he wants to expose himself to Japanese drifting, but Yamashita, one of the OG of OGest drivers here.
Yeah, well, you can see pretty much right out of the gate, Yamashita gets a solid jump on Hubert. Hubert attempts to close the door here on inside clip 2, but really nowhere to be found. You can see there, not even in the picture. He does fall off a little bit outside of that view, but it was a very dominating one-side matchup here right from the get-go. Yamashita, a lot more grip, gets out of the gate, even with the chicane, with a sizable lead here, and Hubert just unable to close the door, trying to do everything he can, but just unfortunately, Yamashita still had a pretty solid lead out there. It wasn't as if he was using, you know, straight line approach or lack of angle to run away. Just simply just had a faster, quicker car.
That's it. I mean, look, Hubert, he said he's here for the entire season. He's not desperate, I think. I mean, he didn't, obviously he wouldn't say this, but I don't think he's desperate to you know, get a win straight out of the gate. He's here for this entire season. He's brought this car over. It's been built in China, tuned by the Funat's workshop here in Japan. So here for the long haul. I think he wants to build himself up to be a competitor to be reckoned with. But right now, I think this might be a fairly one-sided battle between him and Yamashita. So this time, Hubert Lee will be leading. But like I said before, very keen to learn as much as he can from this series here. Of course, competing over in China as well, in the series over there. We're about to begin the second battle now between Yamashita and Lee. Of course, our other Chinese competitor here, James Tang, being the guy who convinced Hubert to come over. Basically sort of telling him, you have to come to Japan, you have to come to Japan. Send a car over, send a car over. Which he did do. It's good to see, even though this is the Japanese series, similar to the American series, it's good to see competitors from not just the local country, but for traveling from all around the world. This weekend we have China, New Zealand, Singapore, also Scotland, if you want to count Andy Gray as a score, and also Australia, even though Chris DeJager isn't competing in today's competition due to mechanical retirement yesterday before qualifying. It's good to see drivers from all over this the Asia Pacific region entering the series here. I guess Andy doesn't really count as Asia Pacific, but he does live in Japan. So we see the Ichinagi being towed off. We just have to wait to get these guys off, because the pit road entrance is part of the track that's used in the battles, so we don't want to see anything happen there. Quickly get these guys off. As soon as they're off, it should be less than 10 seconds until we get the second battle between Hubert Lee and Koichi Yamashita, known to all the local drivers as a champ, due to the fact he used to win pretty much every drift competition he entered back in the day. His Toyota AE86 is what he's known for driving the most, but today he's in the work Weld JZ100. So Hubert Lee leading this run. We have a red flag there. We have a start line situation. And of course, the start line consisting of a chicane and a straight entry made up of cones. And if one or the other cars tag any of the cones, knock them over, hit them in any way, that can result in a restart like what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, typically it's hitting a cone, or if the lead driver does not leave the line after a 2 count, that can also be flagged. I don't know which one happened. It does look like maybe one of the cones got moved there.
And how many chances do these guys have to mess up the start?
3 strikes, you're out for each individual battle.
And who did that last year at the Okoibuki round?
Masuda.
He did. He absolutely potatoed his start all 3 times, hit one of the pylons on his lead run every time, and disqualified himself, which was a bit of an odd thing.
And yet he was doing so well in practice.
He was. We were just there, just throwing our arms up, going, "What are you doing?" All right, here we go. Second run now. Gets a clean start this time. Hubert Lee leading, Koichi Yamashita following. So it looks like a fairly safe entry there, but good angle from Hubert Lee. But Koichi Yamashita really, you can see he's really modulating speed on his car. He's almost having to sort of hold it back. See, they're almost having to hit the brakes over the finish line.
Well, you can see from the onset here, Alexi, that it looks like Yamashita gave a little bit of room to Hubert after what he experienced in run number 1 with running away from it. You know, thinking that he's got the quicker car, he gives him a little bit of space. Hubert kind of does his straight line approach, a little bit of a late initiation, and right here he's able to do a pretty decent job in the lead. Now Yamashita's going to close the door a bit here, and then watch this as Yamashita transitions back through the smoke line. That front right tire is going to fall off there for a second. Ooh. And should be just a minor deduction, but I think he was able to keep enough distance between the two of them in order to have the win go into his side. But nonetheless, a pretty decent lead run from Hubert.
Yeah, decent lead run from there from Hubert Lee. Just, I think, lacking a bit of speed. So the results are going to be fairly obvious here. 1, 2, 3 judges in favor of Koichi Yamashita in the Weld Work JZX 100 Mark II. So Hubert Lee getting knocked out. We will see him again next round at Ebisu Circuit. But for now, Koichi Yamashita moving on to the top 16. Okay, we're going to line up our next battle now. So this is the one more time battle between Hayashi and Masuda. The Masuda we were just talking about just then, who did the triple potato start last year at Okoibuki. I think the reason for that was his car is quite wide in the rear, and he hit the cone with his rear tire every time. So we've got to be a bit more careful about that. So once again, Hayashi in the Toyota 86. Still powered by a boxer engine, albeit a Tomei boxer engine. Followed by Masuda. Here we go. Nice early entry from Hayashi. Lot of angle from Hayashi in the lead car. Masuda having to sort of wobble around a bit to try and maintain his distance. But still not a bad following run there from Masuda in the Shark, hunting down the 8.6 in the leader. So let's watch the replay.
Well, here we go with this one more time battle here. Hayashi once again looking to lay down a solid lead run. Pretty decent job there. Good angle. You can see he understeers a little bit right there in the second outer zone, and right there a slight bobble from Masuda as well. So again, like run number 1, some high points and some low points for both drivers here. I'd have to say that probably the most significant was this bit of understeering by Hayashi in the lead position. It's very, very brief for a second there, but it is noticeable. And then right there you can see Masuda gets choked up a little bit. He has to wobble around with the wheels just a little bit. So now Masuda will take the lead. Hayashi will chase him down.
Yeah, to Hayashi's credit there, he did go out quite wide and fill the outer zone, which he did not do in his lead runs before. So I think maybe his spotter was in his ear about that, like, you have to go wider, you have to go wider. He did a good job of it, maybe slowing down a little bit too much before the first inner clip, giving Masuda a chance to catch up with him and stay as close as he could. So we're going to swap these two guys around and have our second one more time battle between them. So you can see there, that's Hayashi in Toyota 86. A little bit difficult to recognize with that extensive body kit on it. Speaking of difficult to recognize, I think Masuda's car is even worse. Look at the rear end of it. There's very little Toyota left in that car. Here we go, second run now this time. Masuda on the left of the screen leading. Nice entry, great following run here from Hayashi. Look how close he is to the rear of Masuda's car. But once again, Masuda pulling away. Hayashi sort of falling back slightly. I think this is what I was talking about before. This sort of weak area of this track is that first inner clip. If you don't have your speed, which we saw on Hayashi's first run, he didn't have that a lot of speed there either. But on the following run, it bit him and he ended up falling back. Well,
nice job, both drivers there initiating together. You can see Masuda not completely deep into that zone, and right here Hayashi definitely keeping the pressure on, but then on the throttle as Masuda pulls away here for a second. Hayashi surges towards the end, and both drivers cross that finish line, and we'll go to the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, Masuda's car really set up for a high amount of grip in the back, which can make this car difficult. We see him have some trouble with it sometimes, keeping control of it, but when it requires, you see there, Hayashi losing a bit of his bumper there on the finish line cones. But when Masuda's car needs to put the power down, he can definitely do it. So we have 1, 2, 3 in favor of Masuda in the Shark JZX90 Mark II. He'll be moving on to the top 16 to go up against Taguchi in the yellow Up Garage S15 in the top 16. Let's write that down, Masuda. Okay, our next battle now. Kazumi Takahashi. I think one of the nicer, more nicely presented cars here at Formula Drift Japan. It's a very nice build, that JZX 100. Nice and clean and shiny, and really stands out, especially when the sun starts shining on it. He'll be going up against our other Chinese competitor here today, James Tang. Series 1 BMW. James's BMW powered by a straight 6, but not one of Munich's finest engines. It is indeed a Toyota 2JZ. Really well presented car as well. Speaking of, I think these are probably, just in my opinion, these are the two most well presented cars here this weekend. They both look fantastic. Right, here we go, first battle now between Takahashi and Tang. Takahashi leading, Tang following. Here's the entry. Okay, great lead run so far from Takahashi. James Tang, quite a long time on the handbrake there, trying to adjust his position, resulting in him falling back a fair way. So once again, like we've seen before, guys who aren't really close on the first inner clip usually end up falling back a fair way. We saw that in this battle with Tang.
Well, we saw Tang really making quite a few adjustments yesterday to try to figure out what to do on his initiation. Now here in the chase position, he has a bit of trouble on the second half of this run. Now Takahashi, on the other hand, had a great initiation, nice rate to angle, had a little e-brake pull, but filled that second outer zone pretty completely. He gets right back on the throttle. You can see the smoke line starting to generate here. You can see Tang a little bit less angled there through inside clip 1, and as they wrap around this last inside clip, you can see right there on that second hash mark is Takahashi. So this should present a good opportunity for him, because it seems like he put down a very solid lead run.
Yeah, that was a really good run there from Takahashi in the lead. You can see there as they go over the finish line, between the second inner clip and finish line, the cameraman had to zoom almost all the way out to get them both in frame. So I'd say that Takahashi is going into this battle with a fairly good advantage. And here they go, second one now, this time James Tang leading, Takahashi following. Here they come down the straight. Let's watch the entry from these guys. Tang, a very conservative straight line. I think he's playing it as safe as he can. But Takahashi positioning his car almost perfectly through the through the first inner clip over the finish line there. Now that is what I'm talking about. Guys who can position their cars from the second outer zone to the first inner clip. If they can position their car right just there, they've got the rest of the course in the bag.
Well, Takahashi takes a measured approach here. He hasn't driven with James too much, so he doesn't really know exactly what's going to happen in the lead. And he does a great job here. He knew he had an advantage on run number 1 and comes back and is able to really close the door here towards the latter part of the course. On the other hand, James had a very, very slow initiation. He grabbed a lot of e-brake, and you can see the car just basically stop the smoke line from there to there as he starts to get back on the throttle. So James, good first competition for him. Overall, pretty decent performance, but certainly it's a long season, and he'll have a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, of course, James Tang here for the Formula Drift Japan season as well. So we have a result here. So 1, 2, 3 in favor of Kazumi Takahashi in the green JZX 100. He'll be moving on to the top 16. Or as our Japanese announcer just said, Takahashi gets the win. Should I start announcing this in Japanese to compete with that?
Why don't you do one run in Japanese?
Why don't I do,
completely, from start to finish.
Start to finish. Oh, okay.
And I'll translate for you.
Okay. I'll do my best Manapi impression. He's the guy who does the voiceover in that other series that everyone watches the YouTube videos of, who yells constantly. It's quite funny because normally he's a very quiet guy when he talks to him, but when he gets on the mic, he goes insane. Speaking of insane, could you drift like this when you were 17 years old? Kanta there in the green S13 Silvia. Only 17 years old, competing here this weekend. Going up against Tamagawa, much older, much more experienced guy in the JZA 80 Supra. So Tamagawa will be leading. Kanta will be following. Here we go, here's the entry. Fairly conservative entry for both these guys. A lot of angle for the lead car, Tamagawa. So interesting chase run there. I would have thought he'd be able to get a bit closer to the lead car there, Kanta Yanaguida. But falling back a fair way.
You can see here he's with them through initiation, but right here a much shallower line from Tamagawa. Yanaguida, it looks like he was anticipating Tamagawa to go a little bit deeper there, and then you can cause that separation. So the lead driver has some responsibilities, the chase driver has some responsibilities, and between those two things, the judges have to determine who did a better job of their lead and chase responsibilities. Now we do have this gap established here, so certainly the chase driver is also expected to make an adjustment, but the lead driver will also be dinged for not filling those zones, initiating too late, not initiating with enough angle. All those things are put in the hopper to figure out who's going to have the advantage or get the win.
Yeah, so the lead car, the Supra, yesterday, 0 on his first qualifying run. Did a fairly good qualifying run in his second run, but it seemed a bit, if you just ask me, it seemed a little bit fluky, his second run. When we watch him in practice, he doesn't usually go quite as deep as a lot of the other drivers. And we saw that in the first battle there, but this time, Kanta Yanaguida leading, Tamagawa following. This is like a much better lead run there from Yanaguida in the S13 Silvia. Okay, I think maybe a little bit too much limiter there for the lead car. All of a sudden straightening up the lead car there. We can hear him banging off the limiter. Maybe the engine said, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, this is a pretty great approach here. I mean, it's not a hugely aggressive initiation, but look how he fills that second outer zone. Tamagawa, on the other hand, he was shallow on that second outer zone, but right here, as Yanaguida tries to transition back, the car shuts down. You can hear even from where we are, it was banging off the rev limiter. He's not able to finish the run, so that will be an incomplete, and that will obviously give the win to Tamagawa.
That's a shame. He would have had a chance there with this run. You see from that particular angle there, much shallower angle there from Tamagawa in the Supra. But yeah, right there we see he shuts it down, gets on the inside of the track just to give a bit of space to the following car. That will be unfortunate. That's an unfortunate result there for Yanaguida. with that straight and an incomplete there. The results are going to go 1, 2, 3. Yoshichika Tamagawa. In the Supra, he'll be moving on to the top 16. He'll be going up against Takahashi, the winner of the previous battle. Ready to go to that next battle now. Seimi Tanaka, one of the most aggressive guys here, throwing down some really good runs yesterday. Aggressive in his lead runs, also aggressive in his following runs. He's up against Tetsuya Iha in this brand new build, the GS Crown. For our overseas viewers, the Toyota Crown. If you have Crowns in your countries, this is the latest version of it. If you don't have a Crown, if you have another car called a Crown in your country, it's a similar sort of car to that. So there we go, lead run already, really aggressive. Look at this lead run from Seimi Tanaka. Great line from the lead car. A little bit of a tweak there, setting his car up to flick it hard into the second inner clip over the finish line. Tetsuya Iha almost nowhere to be seen. Pretty much everyone's eyes in this particular venue were probably on Tanaka's car for that entire run, I'd say.
Well, I definitely love watching him drift. You watch the rear wheels there, you can really get a good look. He just basically on the e-brake just for a second there, but leaves that second outer zone slightly bit early, a little bit of a flub there. But even those little small critiques, he still has a very large advantage here because Iha was just really nowhere to be seen, wasn't really in battle with him for the most part. You can see right there, that was that little tiny straighten, but nice flick back around that last inside clip. It should be a strong advantage for Seimi Tanaka in run number 1.
Yeah, great lead run for Seimi Tanaka. White wheels on his car.
Bravery.
Yeah. White wheels, and also, I guess overseas, you say that guys who run black wheels are scared of being judges seeing that they're pulling the handbrake, right? Well, one thing they say in Japan is guys who wear bright-colored racing gloves have a lot of confidence because, yeah, you can see if they're I mean, these days we have smartphones, but this is sort of an old saying. They're dialing long distance. Yeah, they're doing this with their hands. If you have, that's why Team Orange wears fluorescent orange racing gloves. Okay, here we go. Next run now. This time Iha leading, Tanaka following. Watch the follow run from Tanaka. Let's see how close he can get to Iha. Wow. So Seimi Tanaka, maybe not quite as aggressive as we would have liked to see, especially from him, or we're expecting from him. But nevertheless, very fast follow run from there with 100% commitment. Let's watch this replay. So watch the following car here to see much more aggressive entry from him.
He gives him a little bit of breathing room here, Tanaka, and look how far offline Iha is here on that first inside clip. Yeah. Now just because we have the opportunity to talk about it, that is one of 2 areas on course where there actually is opportunities for passing, and we have seen that here at this track in particular. If a driver goes wide on an inside clip and the chase driver can take advantage of it and stay on the inside without disrupting the line of the lead driver, they can actually make a pass in that area. So nothing of consequence here, but just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it is very possible to pass there cleanly. Okay, so we have result 1, 2, 3 judges in favor of Seimi Tanaka in the S15 Silver. He'll be moving on to the top 16. Yeah, so we're seeing so far from these guys. We've had a couple of, we had one more time and a couple of fairly close battles so far, but on average the battles have been fairly weighted one way or the other. So it'll be great to see when the winners of the top 32 face up against each other in the next top 16 bracket. So Tanaka moving on to the top 16. Seimi Tanaka, a local of this area. He's driven this track quite a lot, so he'd be quite used to it. All right, next 2 drivers now. Nakamura versus Horino. No, not that Nakamura. It's a different one. Nakamura is actually a fairly common name in Japan, so Nakamura literally means, well, the kanji means middle town, so I guess there's a lot of towns in Japan back in the day. Okay, here we go. So Nakamura leading. Very, very, very shallow line from both these guys.
Oh.
Big straight from Harino in the S15. So an incomplete run there for Jin Harino. This car, you can see there, the S15 Silvia being driven by Jin Harino. A brand new build for him. Now the car, it looks like a full build, but it's still quite stuck on the inside. This is another one of these sort of slow burning competitors that we've been talking about so far.
Yeah, so we won't have much to talk about here other than the fact that Nakamura will have a very large advantage here going into the second run. Right there, an incomplete by Orino on right before that second inside clip. Now the lead driver does need to finish the run completely. Nakamura was able to do that without any problems. Let's take a look at this again from the start line cam. You can see right here, just loses angle, loses drift, and is unable to complete the run.
See that little clip there from Nakamura. That's the sort of thing we want to see. You can also see from that angle that the course is quite heavily banked there. So if guys can set their cars upright and get their cars into that corner with the right attitude and the right weight balance on the rear tires, and get the power down and power out of that corner. We've seen some guys earlier today who are desperately trying to catch up with the lead car, sort of running a little bit wide. So it looks like an easy track. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of little nuances of this track that you have to get used to very quickly and react to very quickly, which just is even more difficult to do when you have to contend with another guy out there who's trying to do the same thing as you but better. So Jin Harino just stopping on the back straight over there. We have Nakamura here. It's an S14 Silvia with a 180SX front on it. So we have a result there. So Harino is actually retiring his car. Something has broken on it. So we have the Nakamura returning, completing his second run. Just has to complete his second run by himself. There you go. Okay, so moving on to the top 16. Nakamura in the Supermade S14/180SX. Nakamura also a local guy. So the result there, Tomohiro Nakamura. He'll be going up against Semi Tanaka in the top 16. Right, so we're halfway through the bracket here in the top 32. We're going to take a little quick commercial break. We'll be back with the second half of the top 32 bracket here at Suzuka Twin Circuit, Formula Drift Japan, round one. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, we're back here at Suzuka Twin Circuit, Formula Drift Japan live stream to all around the world. I'll be getting messages from Belgium, Costa Rica, Ireland, the UK. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching us live here from Japan. We are halfway through the top 32 bracket in the first round of the year here at Suzuka Twin Circuit. Lovely weather here today, as you can see. Safe to say the biggest crowd we've ever had here at Suzuka Twin Circuit. I don't know if you saw when we drove in this morning, but did you see how long the queue was to get in this morning? Yeah. Massive queue to get in this morning. Cars stretching all the way through the access road, all the way outside.
I don't even think we had people up on that hill last year.
Yeah, no, we didn't. So Formula Drift Japan gaining in popularity.
What do you think the reason for that is, given that you live here and you're the all-seeing eye?
Well, I mean, I mean, it's becoming more of a thing. Like it usually, if there's an event that's only been on one time, I mean, just word of mouth.
Right.
People, it's the weekend here in Japan. It's not a busy period right now. It's just after the beginning of the work and the work year and the school year. So people have sort of settled into their jobs or their new study positions, and they sort of feel like the pressure's been off a bit. So they've probably got a bit of time to come out and chill out here at Suzuka Twin with us.
And unlike Okiabuki, it's not in the mountains, so it's a little bit closer to civilization.
It's a bit easier to get to. Yeah,
there's no kumas here either.
There's
maybe. How do you say deer in Japanese?
Shika.
There's no sikas here.
Shika. Yeah. Yeah. There's not quite as much wildlife. One thing there is a lot of is pollen right now.
Yes.
We can see basically the track is see those trees over there. See those trees over there. Those are like Japanese cedar trees, and a couple of the campaign girls, the Formula Drift girls this morning were sniffing a lot in the car ride over from the hotel. Unlike them, they don't need to talk, and I do. So, so if you're just joining us now, I apologize for my my voice. It has more gravel than a quarry and more horse than the Kentucky Derby. So I'll do my best to keep you entertained today. Here with Ryan. So Ryan, you have to pick up the slack when I can't do it. But until then, here comes our next battle. We just saw there before Yokoi do his bye run. Yokoi, yesterday's first place qualifier. So he was, second place qualifier. He's at the top of the top 32, the second half of the top 32 bracket. So that means he gets a bye run. We did have a couple of retirements yesterday. We come to our second round now. Yamamoto versus Imamaeda. Yamamoto RX-7 leading, Imamaeda S14 following. They're great angles from these guys. Very, very shallow understeer from the following car, Imamaeda. In that same spot. You notice that it's the same spot that we saw there before. Jin Hirino, that's where he lost his drift too. So, yeah.
Pretty much almost the exact same circumstance here. So, let's take a look here. Yamamoto in that lead position. Pretty aggressive approach here. Doesn't get all the way out to that second outer zone, but right behind him there, Imamaeda, big straightening, and does not re-engage after that. So Yamamoto crosses the finish line while in drift. He will have a very sizable advantage going into run number 2. You
can sort of see there from that angle too, the attitude of Imamaeda's car there. Sort of moving in almost the opposite direction he needed to do when he pulled the handbrake to enter there. So not a very strong entry, and really setting his car up very badly for that follow run there. And I keep saying it, the most important part, the key of this track is that first inner clip. If you have your car set up for that part of the track, you can get the rest of it right. Of course, the entry is also very important too, the outer zone, but if you can get that right and then set your car for the rest of the track, you're gold. But that's looking like a difficult job for Imamaeda, the lead car now. Here's what we want to see. This sort of run he should have done his first run. Imamaeda, great lead run this time. He's just switched it on somehow, but nevertheless, Yamamoto in the RX-7 following him around the entire way. Why didn't he do that on his first run? That's what he needed to do.
Well, a good sense of whereabouts here from Yamamoto, especially on that inside clip that you were talking about. You can see definitely pushed the pressure quite a bit. Good initiation off the wall a little bit by Imamaeda, but right here you can see he's going to go real wide on that inside clip. Yamamoto stays fluid and is able to take back some of that distance that was gained by Imamaeda. Now, obviously, with that incompleted run number 1, this will be an easy win for Yamamoto, but getting to see some exemplary drifting here from both drivers. Nice start by Imamaeda. Yamamoto closing the door on that second inside clip through the smoke line here, keeping the pressure on, and a good little battle there on the second half.
Yeah, we could really see there just before the first inner clip, lead car Imamaeda going a little bit wide, which resulted in him losing a bit of speed, and we could see it from that opposite angle. He had to sort of slow down, stamp on the accelerator, try and get as much forward momentum as he could, which allowed Yamamoto, who set himself up much better for that particular corner, to slowly reel him in. But like, as you said, with that incomplete, it's going to be a fairly one-sided result here. 3 judges in favor of Junji Yamamoto in the FD RX-7. He'll be moving on to the top 16. He'll be going up against Yokoi. So that should be a fun battle for him. So Yamamoto, one of only 2 RX-7s here this weekend. The other one, of course, being Mad Mike from New Zealand. Okay, lining up our next battle now. Shinji Minowa. There should be the other way around. There you go. Shinji should be in the lead for the first run. There we go. We got them switching around now. So Shinji Minowa. Hey man, hey man. I'm doing that teenage from Simpsons thing with my voice. Hey man workshop. But not driving one of his own built cars. This is a car built by a professional workshop. He's a hired driver. Twin turbo V6 350Z. He's up against Saito in the S15 Silvia. Here we go, lead run. Now Shinji Minowa performing very well yesterday, very consistent yesterday. It's a little bit of a damp lead run there for Shinji Minowa. Second half looking okay, but not the consistent Minowa that we're used to seeing in yesterday's practice and qualifying. Let's watch this replay.
Well, he has an incredibly early entry here. If you look at the 3, 2, 1 standing cones on the wall, he actually initiates even before the third standing cone, quite a bit before. Now, he's not able to reach out to that second outer zone, so you got to think maybe he should adjust his timing a little bit there, but you can see a slight straightening on inside clip 1 there by Saito in the chase position. Does close the door a little bit here towards the end. So both drivers making a couple little mistakes. And now we'll see Saito go to the lead position here. Here's from the start line camera. A good angle on inside clip 1 there by Minowa. And then around that last inside clip.
So not a bad run from both these guys we're talking about on this particular track. Timing is so important. There's very little leeway on this track, and problems and mistakes really cascade on each other. Of course, guys like Minowa, we saw yesterday in qualifying, his first run not that great, second run quite good, able to adjust himself, so he should be able to perform a bit better this time. But of course, Saito is going to do his best to keep him off his tail. But good lead run from Saito. Actually, if that was a qualifying run from there from Saito, that would have been a very good run. But that wasn't a qualifying run. He had to contend with Shinji Minowa on his tail. So let's watch this entry again. Both these guys, good timing from them. Much better timing from Shinji Minowa this time in the following run.
Yeah, a good initiation and entry there by Saito. Was able to get his timing better, even with that early initiation. But you can see here, Minowa just not letting him get away. He was able to anticipate almost every single move. You can see right here, as they both initiate, he's already putting the pressure on Saito in that lead position, wrapping through that first inside clip, now transitioning back around. Nice snap there by Saito, but once again, Minowa is matching the angle, staying with them in that smoke line. And after run number 1, that should give him the edge.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering about that first run there with Minowa. Not very many people are entering that early. Wondering if that was some sort of tactic by him to try and do a better entry than Saito, or maybe put Saito off. But you never know. But I think the result is probably going to go in favor of Shinji Minowa. Overall, a good run from him. So just waiting for a result for that. We can see them lined up there. Minowa and Saito. No, not that Saito. That's a different Saito.
Yeah, the results have been in for a while, so this is not the judges concurring with each other. This is something else. Here we go.
There we go. So we have the result now. 1, 2, 3 in favor of Shinji Minowa. So Shinji Minowa knocking out Shinichiro Saito in the S15 Silvia, moving on to the top 16. Okay, our next battle now. Widett versus Hiroshima. We can see there. Mad Mike, are any New Zealanders watching? If you are, cheer to you. Thanks for joining us here at Suzuka Circuit. Now, Mike, not in the humble RX-7. The quad rotor, he had some issues with that in practice and qualifying yesterday. Long story short, the intake manifold was warped and they weren't able to fix it in time. It was sucking air into the intake through a small gap in the gasket, and it was just not running right. But luckily, Mike, being the guy he is, managed to find a loaner. This car here belonging to a local driver called Fujinaka, and it's a 3-rotor, so he's had to take a bit of a pay cut to drive the 3-rotor, but nevertheless, here we go. Mad Mike Widett leading. Yeah. And Mike, what was that? Was that a bit of a miss of a shift? That's quite unusual. He looked very, very comfortable in that car yesterday.
He did. That was definitely very unfortunate circumstances here for Mike Widett, and still sitting on the sidelines. I imagine that it was something along those lines. He didn't have a lot of time to really practice in this vehicle, though that the vehicle was very well prepped. We'll take a look at this again. Mike taking the lead here. He's now turned the car off in the background, so he is sitting still there. Let's take a look at this approach. Early initiation,
nice.
Decent job here. Now right here is where he's going to fall out of drift, and you can see Hiroshima in the chase position is going to go right by. Now, typically, that's not a passing area, but basically he's just trying to avoid contact, and with Mike off course, no harm, no foul. But Mike will be charged with that incomplete run, and depending on what happens with the vehicle here, he will either go back and try to chase down Hiroshima, or potentially it looks like we are getting a signal saying, I don't know if that means the car's not starting.
Well, that particular, when Japanese people make that X symbol with their hands, it just means basically she's done. No, it means no good, problem. It's you say batsu is the symbol for like a cross.
Bad soup.
Batsu. Say batsu.
Batsu.
Or like if you've ever seen people see on YouTube, those Japanese game shows where somebody does something and then they have to get a punishment. That's called a batsu game. So like if you lose, then you get a punishment. Those ones where like the silent library, all those ones you see on YouTube where like everyone draws a card and whoever gets the cross.
That's my one criticism of Japan as a traveler.
Right.
Is every country that I've ever gone to, in the TV department realm, there's at least like some Western channel or some English-speaking channel that you can get caught up with the fairs or whatever, CNN, whatever. Yeah, they usually have that. Here, I've never found that. It's always they have the 3 different bandwidths or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's always the game shows or food. I usually watch the food, preparation. Or the guy with his little. He's got his head in the box in the corner, or the girl and they're laughing or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll watch it for a little bit, but being a completely different dialect, I'm not really getting a whole lot out of it other than the visuals.
You've just described about 95% of Japanese television right there. Those what they call the variety shows. Or the cooking shows, or the shows where they'll go to some local area and and do you ever see the ones where they do the close-up of the food and it's like it's quivering because they're holding it with chopsticks and it's going wobble, 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 it's wobbling?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like kind of a joke, because it's a joke amongst foreigners here, like wobbly food. But to their credit, they never seem to run out of content.
Nope.
Speaking of running out of content, we have no content right now because Mad Mike has to get his car towed off the track. So we're going to go to a very quick commercial break. We'll be right back here at Suzuka Circuit. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back here at Suzuka Circuit. Thanks for waiting. We just had to get Mad Mike's car ceremoniously towed off the circuit, unfortunately for him. That's a real shame. It was a lot of bad luck this weekend for Mad Mike. As I mentioned before, the Magic quad rotor having a fairly terminal issue with the inlet manifold. Unfortunately, since that car, it's a quad rotor, it's a lot of custom stuff on that car. Not able to fix that issue. Ended up borrowing a car from a local driver called Fujinaka, a 3-rotor. And just now getting towed off, and it was making sort of a clunking sound as it got towed off. I would say it was some sort of propeller shaft or drive shaft issue. To Mike's credit, he kept it off the wall, managed to safely pull over on the side of the track out of the way of Hiroshima's S15. And now it's been towed back, so that's really unfortunate. I can see over in the pits, Mad Mike's crew looking under the car. So, of course, he still has the opportunity to go back out if he can fix it. The 5-minute rule here in Formula Drift, but I'm going to guess that it's not up in the air yet. So if it's not up in the air by now, then it might not be. They might be trying to do it. We'll see. Really, really hope we can get Mad Mike back out for the second battle. Even though he did have it incomplete, it still would be good to make Hiroshima fight for that win. And also the fact that Mike's had to come all the way here to Japan.
Yeah, it's been a very eventful weekend for Mad Mike in the, I guess you could say, the negative. I mean,
I would say that.
Surely
yeah.
He would have loved to have driven his own vehicle, and that was the vehicle he took to a win last year at Ebisu. So
that Ebisu, he should have. You know what he should have done? He should have stopped drifting halfway through and flown to a casino somewhere and just put it all on black. Like he could not lose that day.
Yeah.
I mean, taking nothing away from his driving and the setup of that car was set up so everything was perfect that day.
Yeah.
It was amazing. His battle with Yokoya was one of the best battles I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was definitely a very, very high point for him.
Right, here we go. Next battle now. Similar cars. Andrew Gray leading. Yoshiaki Shinozaki following. Here we go, big body battle, spin from Shinozaki in the following position.
Well, there's definitely a reason why Andrew Gray is your defending Formula Drift Japan champion, and it's for lead runs like that, threading the needle all the way through into outer zone number 2, and Shinozaki just not able to get the timing right. Went a little bit too long here. Let's watch Andrew Gray in the lead position. Great initiation here, burning down that front straight. Nice job on that first outer zone. I mean, that's as perfect as you're going to get in the second outer zone. Back bumper was right on the white line in the rear position. And Shinozaki just not able to maintain that through that section of the zone, and basically incompletes his section of the course.
Yeah, nothing really odd there about Andrew Gray's lead run. Would have liked to see him go a little bit faster in the first part of the course, leaving the start line. But he did roll on and get a good speed down through the outer zone number 1. And of course, outer zone number 2. Best we've seen so far here today in this top 32 battle. So a spin there for Shinozaki. So we do have confirmation. Unfortunately, Mad Mike is out due to mechanical issues. Obviously, they're not going to be able to get that car fixed in time to go out for a second run and make Hiroshima work for that win. So all Hiroshima has to do is complete one run, and he will be able to move on to the top 16. So we just saw there in that battle between Gray and Shinozaki, Shinozaki tagging the wall, knocking over the second outer zone marker. You can see there, notice that his exhaust coming loose. That's going to need to be reattached. Of course, he does have 5 minutes that he can call to fix that.
And he will need to use that for sure.
He will definitely need to use that to fix that car. Of course, that's going to be a very quick repair, I'd imagine. Just stick it back on the hanger and head back out with his second battle with Andrew Gray. So great lead run there for Andrew Gray. all the way out into the outer zone number 2. That's what we want to see. It's the most exciting part of this course, especially for us because we're sitting right above it. And that's exactly where the judges are too.
Robbie, are we waiting for Shinozaki, or are we going to go on to the next?
We're just seeing whether Shinozaki is going to head straight back out or whether we're going to move on to the next battle. So here's the second run between these two.
If you watch closely, you can actually see the exhaust make contact with that tire wall and snap off. I'm pretty sure you can catch it right after the second, if they show it again, the first standing clipping cone right here. Right there on that the red and white tire wall. It looks like it was just
right there in the corner,
rubbed up against. Yeah.
Okay. So Shinozaki, also a regular competitor in Formula Drift Japan. That particular car he's driving there used to be his street car. I'm not sure if it is still street registered or not. It may not be anymore, but it was his street car for the longest time. So he's changed up the engine a bit, given it a bit more power. Okay, so we will be moving on to the next battle in this bracket. Iko Saito, you can see there, warming up his tires in the burnout box. So yet another red JZX 100. The red seems to be the color that best suits these cars if you want to win. Was Daigo Saito driving a red JZX 90 and JZX 100 for the longest time. That was when he came up in Japan. So Andrew Gray, multiple champion, red JZX 100, might be something in there. So Saito will be going up, not that Saito, this the Saito we just saw there. We will be going up against this driver here, Kazuya Iizuka. He drove a JZX 4-door last year, but he's changed to this car for this year's season, an S15 Silvia with a 2JZ and a whopping great Borg Warner turbo on it. So there's Saito, Iko Saito, lined up on the start line. He will be leading in the first run. Here comes Iizuka. I've mentioned this before, I used to drive with Kazuya quite a bit. He used to have a drift team called Himawari Racing, which is Sunflower.
Nice.
So actually Sunflowers have a very sort of strong masculine image, though. Yes, even though it's a flower. Kind of cool. Got a bit of a sort of
Sunflower.
Well, there you go, exactly. Yeah, some sort of different racing team. But here we go. This run here, Saito leading. Iizuka very aggressive. Understeer, big understeer and a spin from Iizuka. Iizuka very aggressive on his following run, but driving beyond his ability there.
Well, Iizuka has had some success in the series in the past, but unfortunately...
He is kind of hit and miss, isn't he, for sometimes?
Yeah, but unfortunately on this particular run, you'll see, and it was right in front of the judge stand, so we got a really good look at it. He has a big understeer after the latter part of outer zone 2. Right here you can see Saito takes him into that zone. Saito does not get very deep there, but as soon as they separate, you can see there was a big understeer in Iizuka's car, and unfortunately wasn't able to reinitiate. He spun out, he got himself an incomplete, and now he will have just one more chance to try and force a one more time here, because that incomplete would require that Saito also have an incomplete.
So unfortunate run there for Iizuka. We can sort of see It sort of looked like he had to get off the accelerator for a long time, right in front of the judging stand. Maybe he felt he was carrying too much speed behind Saito. But of course, getting off the accelerator, changing the weight balance of the car to the front, causing the car to, the front tires to lose their grip. So as you mentioned, Ryan, he has one more. The only chance he has right now is to cause a one more time is for Saito to have an incomplete run. So I don't know if he can somehow psych out Saito. Not sure if that'll happen because Saito is a very consistent driver. Driving very aggressively here too. See there right in front of the judging stand, Iizuka looking backwards to see if Saito was still there. That was a bit of an odd entry there by Iizuka.
Yeah, that got a little interesting there.
Don't usually see that sort of thing in the Japan series, do we?
Well, you can see, Saito is pacing him there, and then if it was a weight transfer, it certainly was a very hasty one.
It was a little bit faster than you'd expect.
But obviously for Iizuka to get the win here, Saito would have to incomplete a second run. And while you could make the case that it wasn't the greatest chase run, it certainly didn't have a very good start here. But I don't think that there's justification for anything that would result in a one more time.
There to Saito's credit, he swung left to try and avoid any potential contact, but used it to his advantage and swung the car back and initiated his drift. So it just shows the might be a little bit of a skill level gap between these two. Saito, a little bit older guy, very experienced driver. Of course, we've seen him drive in Formula Drift Japan before. So I'm going to guess we have a result for that. So Saito there on the right of screen. There we go. 1, 2, and 3 in favor of Hiko Saito. So that unfortunate understeer there for Kazuya Iizuka on his following run gives the win to Hiko Saito. Will be moving on to the top 16. So that means that if Shinozaki loses this battle, actually no, it doesn't really matter. No matter who wins this next battle, we're going to have another red JZX versus red JZX battle with Hiko Saito. Big body battles, that's what we see a lot of here in Japan. So second run now between Shinozaki on the left there, Andrew Gray on the right. Of course, Shinozaki running a bit too wide, tagging the tyre wall in front of the judging stand in his first run, knocking off his exhaust hanger. Done that. So he'll be leading this one against Gray. Gray with the advantage. Here we go, the initiation. Good initiation for both these guys. And it's going to be a spin. Wait. I thought... Is this meant to be drifting or sort of a, what do you call it?
Ballet?
No, ballet or
Demo?
Car, yeah, like a driving demo. That was a bit of a driving demo. They both spun out.
Well, it's a great bit of defensive driving here from Andrew Gray. He anticipates Shinozaki is going to be spinning in the lead position. Let's take a closer look at it here. Right in front of the judges' stand, big angle here, and then right there you can see Shinozaki was starting to spin. Gray sees that it's happening and also throws himself into a spin to avoid that. So good bit of driving there from Gray, and it'll, at least from my perspective, that'll be charged to Shinozaki, so there'll be 2 incompletes, and that should be Gray moving on.
Yep, I would almost 100% say that that would be Andrew Gray moving on to the top 16. Here we go, 1, 2, and a 3 in favor of Andrew Gray from Scotland via Japan. be moving on. He's last year's champion. He'll be moving on to the top 16. It's a bit of a shame there. Not the greatest of runs there from Shinozaki. Double spin. All right, here we go now. Speaking of aggressive red JZX drivers, we have another one here. Daichi Oshiro. Now, Oshiro, yesterday, some of the most aggressive, consistently aggressive runs of the entire competition. Really, really good driver. Very confident in this car. Also seemingly very confident on this track. But not a local driver. Oshiro all the way from Okinawa. He's up against Kazama of Kazama Auto. He's the loss of Kazama Auto.
Oh, buddy.
And we're seeing that, again, that sort of entry we're talking about. Falling a bit short, though. Now, Oshiro's going to have to be careful if he wants to do those sorts of entries. He's going to have to do it with a bit more speed and a bit later and carry a bit more of the speed. If he's going to, he could potentially cause contact.
Yeah,
and have it deemed his fault in that instance.
I don't think he's gonna gain much from this. I mean, it looks cool, yeah, but he has to unwind the angle a little bit, and also he gets really, really slow. But Kazama, on the other hand, was not in an area where it would have really had an impact. So he was so far behind, he wasn't really a factor there. It was almost as if there were two individual runs here. So you can see big angle there, then he has to pull some out, gets back on it. Kazama in the chase position, not really able to close the door from the onset, even with that big slowdown near outer zone number 2 from Oshiro.
See, this is about the point where the fanboys say, oh, you mean you're trying to tell the drivers not to drive it at 100% in back entry? It's not that. It's that is not, if you can do that entry and hold that angle all the way around, fine, do it. But if you can't, then it's not the best thing for tandem drifting.
Yeah, well, it's simple enough to say that you can mess up a backwards entry quite easily.
Quite easily, yeah. And they have a couple of their second run now, Kazama versus Oshiro. Kazama leading, Oshiro following. Much more conservative lead run there for Oshiro. All right. Now, is this going to be...
Oh.
Now, is this going to be deemed as Kazama's entry was too slow and shallow, causing Oshiro to spin? Is it going to be a forced error?
At first pass, I think it's a forced error, but I think the bigger story here might be that if they give Kazama also an incomplete from outer zone 2 to, or inside clip 1 to inside clip 2, it could be a 0-0, but let's just take a look here. You see Kazama's got a pretty healthy lead here, pace-wise. Yeah, I think it's going to be an independent. He should have had enough time to adjust, but watch this here. Watch. Straight, reinitiate.
Right.
So
yeah, if
that's an incomplete, then it's 0-0.
Right.
Default back to run number 1.
Right, yeah. Now that was a big straight in there. Well, we have seen some guys...
Let's see it from this angle.
Yeah. No, the car went back the opposite direction.
Is that opposite drift? Is that opposite drift?
All right, asking the judges.
Yes. So they're saying that's an opposite drift. That would mean 0-0. So what happened in run number 1 will be the factor.
Okay, so there you go.
We were just getting a few words from...
Send them both home?
Ryan. He said,
send them both home.
Well, basically, he said, not the prettiest.
Not the prettiest.
Anybody from the U.S. watching here today?
Yeah.
Send a note to Alexi and I. I think you said Ken Gushi.
I know Ken Gushi is at home by himself on a Saturday night.
Yeah, there you go, Ken.
In a dark room watching this. Hi, Ken. We're getting messages from him. Yeah. So one thing I'd like to point out, we saw that Kazama. Now this is something that people who are sort of new to drifting and are trying to learn all about it. We have seen some other cars in that particular part of the course. You might think, well, they straightened up because their wheels straightened up. That's not necessarily the case. If the car is still drifting, like as if the car is still sliding, the car is still at a slip angle, it's getting sort of technical, but if the car is still, the attitude of the car is still a drift attitude, even if the wheels can straighten up a bit, that can still be considered a drift. Whereas what we just saw there with Kazama, the car did indeed wobble back the other way. Like the car did wobble back, and then he had to start again. That's the sort of thing we're talking about when we talk about runs being opposite drift.
So let's just explain this here, because obviously what that means from the judge's standpoint is one judge thought that the first run was even, essentially, and the other two judges thought that Kazama had it going in his favor, because they did officially give both drivers what amounts to a 0 or an incomplete on the second run.
Right.
So that goes back to the first run and the comparison between the lead and the chase there. So two judges giving it to Kazama, one judge saying that it was too close to call. So officially it's going to Kazama, but it was quite, for lack of a better term, not
the prettiest.
Not the prettiest all the way around.
There you go. So this sort of thing is the sort of thing that happens here in drifting. It's that fine balance between throwing it all down and going for a hardcore run and being a little bit conservative and trying to guarantee your way through, but you never know. You never know what the other guy's going to do unless you've driven with them a lot or studied them a lot, unless you have a really good spotter who can give you really good advice. It's that entire package. That's sort of what we... when people talk about what makes a good drift driver, it's not just the driving. It's everything else as well.
So this is our final buy run. Miyoshi was the driver that, before we started broadcasting, had a very vicious crash in outer zone number 2.
Yep.
Damaged the car beyond repair, and he was to face Neon in the round of 32. He's not able to do that, so Neon will get the automatic win here. He will have the bye, and he will be facing Kazama in the top 16. So the top 16 bracket is filled out at this point. We've got a full bracket with Taguchi, Masuda, Yamashita, Takahashi, Tamagawa, Seimi Tanaka, Nakamura, Yokoi, Yamamoto, Minowa, Hiroshima, Gray, Saito, Kazama, Neon, and I believe I missed this one. Masuyama.
Yeah. So this is the buy run for Neon.
Man, he really has improved. He really has improved. He still gets he can get a little pitted from time to time and do some crazy stuff, but I've been really excited to watch his development and growth in the sport.
I'm sorry, pitted? Is that... Wait. I mean, I, along with the rest of the internet, has seen that, and you get pitted, pitted video.
It's a version of that. It was born from that, but now it has multiple usages.
Okay, so what is the usage in the drift context?
Because
I know that I've been using sort of like video game live streaming words so far. So what does pitted mean? Pitted
can mean like you get kind of wacky.
Right, okay. So I think that applies very much so to Neon in that case then. But that run we just saw there, great run for him. Should be a good battle between him and Kazama in the top 16. So, no matter where you're joining us from all around the world, be it in the same time zone as Japan, whether you're in the United States. What time is it in the States right now? It's like late at night, isn't it? It's like midnight.
Probably 7, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Like
if you're watching us late at night in the States, if you're watching us first thing in the morning, I had a message from one guy in Sweden saying I have to get up at like 6 a.m. to watch you guys. Thank you for joining us so much. The story from now on is we've just had a top 32 tournament. We're done with that. The next thing to happen is basically 1 hour from what time is it now? It's 20 past 11. So we did finish a little bit earlier just because of the various buys and things like that. And we only have one more time, so we finished a little bit earlier than usual. So the next time you should join us on the live stream is, let's say, an hour and a half from now at 1 o'clock Japan time. Now, if you're not sure, if you don't want to do the math or anything, just go pull out your phone, go to the Formula D Insta. What is the? It's
at Formula D. Yeah.
Just go to @Formula D, and on the it should be maybe the first or second picture on there. It has the live stream times, translated to times or transposed to times all around the world. So you don't need to do any math or anything. Just pull that out, have a look. Otherwise, you can join us in about an hour and a half, 1 o'clock Japan time. We will be back here at Suzuka Circuit for the top 16 to the final. We hope to see you then. This has been Alexi Smith. I'm here with Ryan Sage. We'll be back and see you in about an hour and a half from now. Catch you then.